Hey guys, it's Emily, and today I'm going to be doing the Finally Fall book tag. I've been tagged by my friend Mary at Mary Among Stories, and I am so excited to finally be giving this tag a try. This is my first time filming this one, and I'm very excited because all of the questions have to do with fall, as the title suggests. I have no idea who created this tag, but if I can find the info regarding the original creator, I will leave them linked down below. And now let's just dive into the questions. Number 1. In fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. Personally, as soon as I read that question, I knew I had to go with These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is a Romeo and Juliet retelling that takes place in 1920s Shanghai, and I read it earlier this year and absolutely fell in love with it. One of the main reasons why I loved this book so much was because of the setting. Chloe Gong really takes us in 1920s Shanghai, and she really is able to create this gloomy and dark atmosphere because there is a monster roaming through the streets of Shanghai, and I just felt like I was there. I just could imagine every single thing. So if you guys haven't checked out this book yet, I would absolutely recommend it. The sequel is coming out later on this year and I am so excited. Now let's move on to question number 2, which is nature is beautiful but also dying. Name a book that is beautifully written but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. So personally, this is one that I kind of struggled with because it's not a topic like loss and grief are not topics that I typically strive for. I don't necessarily read a lot of books about that because they make me sad, and I just don't like to read sad books as a whole. But one that came to mind that I really enjoyed is Be Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. So this follows our main character Kella, who is a Canadian blogger, and she finds out that her father is dying from cancer. He invites her to spend time with her in Alaska because basically they've had a very difficult relationship and they've kind of grown apart over the years. And so Kala moves from Toronto to Alaska to spend time with her father before it's too late. And this book was just amazing. I know a lot of people talk about this one, and there's a reason for that. It is so well written, but also deals with a very heavy topic, and yet it still manages to make you smile and make you laugh because Kala is not only going through this very difficult period with her father, but she's also falling in love with a man that she meets there, and it's both heartbreaking and beautiful, and I really enjoyed this one. There's a sequel and like a follow-up to that, but the first one, in my opinion, is the best one, and I just really enjoyed this one and would absolutely recommend it if you guys haven't read it yet. Question number 3. Fall is back to school season. Share a nonfiction book that taught you something new. Now, I don't read a lot of nonfiction, and when I do, I typically read biographies or memoirs. So the one that I have to share is actually a memoir, but it talks about career. It is The Big Life by Anne Shockett. She used to be the editor-in-chief at 17 magazine, and that's kind of how I found out about her. When I found out that she had written her own book, I was very curious. And The Big Life is not only a memoir of Anne's life and how she got to her position at 17 magazine, but she also interviews other women and talks about managing, like having a career and a separate life from that. Like I just thought that it had a lot of lessons, not only as far as like career wise, but also like life wise. I think the author really was able to share some insight as to what it's like being a woman in like media, or just being a woman and having a career at the same time. So I would totally recommend that you guys check it out if you're interested. The audiobook is great because the author narrates it, but personally I really enjoyed it. Question number 4 is, in order to keep warm, it's good to spend some time with the people we love. Name a fictional family, household, or friend group that you'd like to be a part of. There are many fictional families, whether that's found family or actual family, that I would love to be a part of, but one that came to mind is the one from Pages & Co. So this is the first book in that series, and it follows Tilly, who lives with her grandparent in a bookshop in London. They own that bookshop, and they don't actually live in the bookshop, I think they live above it, but Tilly's life is so intertwined with the bookshop that one day she starts seeing the main characters from her favorite stories come to life, and it brings out a whole new power and a whole new, I guess, adventure for Tilly, who gets to live every book lover's dream. I just love this series. I think if you read middle grade, or if you have heard of middle grade before, you've probably seen this one recommended a lot because it is a favorite on BookTube, and there's a reason behind that. It is so cozy. It's just perfect for fall. I recommended it in my fall video recently, and that's just because the setting is perfect. But one of the reasons why this is such a great series is because family plays a big part in it. Tilly's family owns this bookshop, and Tilly has a lot of interactions with her grandparents. I'm super excited to read the 4th installment, which is coming out soon. I would love to be at Pages. Like, honestly, because Pages is the name of the bookshop and it's also the last name of the grandparents and of Tilly. So yeah. Question number 5 is, the colorful leaves are piling up on the ground. Show us a pile of fall colored spines. So here we have them, my fall colored spines. So I have a lot of reds and a couple of like darker ones. I'm just going to show you the books that I chose real quick, but I think these are perfect. Don't you think? So first up we have Ace of Shades by Amanda Foodie. Love this one and it's so underrated. Then we have Poisoned by Jennifer Donnelly. Another one that I feel is criminally underrated. It is one of my favorite Snow White retellings that I've ever read. I read it this year for a Disney 24-hour readathon and would absolutely recommend it if you guys haven't checked it out. Next I have A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. I have actually not read this book yet. It is on my fall reading list. It's a dark academia book that takes place at a boarding school in Connecticut, England, something like that. I'm just very excited to read this. I've heard a lot of people talk about it and I think this cover is really stunning and perfect for fall. Then we have one of my favorite books of all time, and that is Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. It is such the perfect like Halloween fall read. If you guys haven't checked it out, you absolutely should, and I kind of want to reread it this year. I don't know if it'll happen, but I just had to include it, especially because this cover and spine, like this book as a whole, screams fall. Then I have Bridge of Souls by Victoria Schwab. So this is the third book in the Cassidy Blake series, and this spine is just super pretty and super fall. I don't think it'll focus, but there's a little detailing with like a gate of some sort and like the red and the black. It's a perfect book for fall, and this cover is also very pretty. And finally, I have Night Film by Marisha Pessel. So I read this recently in my mystery vlog, like murder mystery one, and I really liked it. I was surprised by how much I liked it. It was very dark, it dealt with the occult, and look at this cover. I mean, it is perfect for fall. Question number 6 is, fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fireside. Share a book wherein somebody is telling a story. Now, you knew I had to talk about my favorite book, right? It is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So if you're somehow not familiar with The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, it tells the story of Evelyn Hugo, who used to be this very popular Hollywood starlet, and she's kept her life pretty private until one day she decides to tell this unknown journalist that no one really knows about her entire story for the very first time. It is such an incredible book. I have a whole reading vlog dedicated to it if you want to see my reading experience, but this is told in a very interesting format in which the main character, Evelyn Hugo, tells her story to the journalist. And so we see Evelyn's life through not only Evelyn's lens, but also through this journalist's lens. And I just thought that it was such a masterpiece. It is so well done. I loved this book so much. The writing is incredible. The characters, the story, everything about this book is immaculate perfection. And if you guys haven't read it yet, I don't know what you're doing. Stop this video and just go read it because it is absolutely worth it. Question number 7. The nights are getting darker. Share a dark, creepy read. There are a couple from this list actually that I showed you earlier on that would have been perfect, like Night Film, but the one that I chose for this question is One by One by Ruth Ware. I read this earlier this year, and to be honest, I just didn't expect to love this. I'm not a big mystery thriller fan, but I had heard a lot of good things about Ruth Ware, and One by One really intrigued me because it follows this group of people who are going on this work retreat in the Alps, and people start dying one by one. I don't know about you guys, but it sounded amazing. And it was. I love this book. It's super creepy too because as soon as like the avalanche hits and people start dying, you get this impending sense of doom because you know characters are gonna die, you know there's a murder amongst them, you don't know who it is, and the ending just kept me on my toes because you find out who it is quite early on, and the second half of the book just brought this to a whole new level because you are just hoping that the characters will survive and that they will find a way to get out of the situation. Chilling to the bone. I love this book, and if you guys haven't read it, like, you absolutely should check this out. I loved it. I'm not a big mystery thriller fan, but this one really converted me, and I really hope that I can read more of Ruth Ware's work. Question number 8. The days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. I have the perfect read, and if you haven't read it yet, I don't understand. It is Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. So not only is this short because it is a graphic novel, but it is also so sweet, cute, heartwarming. It is the story of two boys who over the course of a year fall in love. I loved it. Alice Oseman can do no wrong, honestly. I've loved every book in this series because there are multiple volumes out. There's 4 out yet, and if you haven't read them, it is absolutely incredible. I love the artwork. I just love the narrative. I love Nick and Charlie, and I love their group of friends. I just love everything about this book. It is so good. I know there's a lot of hype surrounding this, so you've probably heard of this before. If you haven't read it yet, I urge you to go read it because it will make you smile, put you in the best of moods, and I just couldn't recommend it enough. Question number 9. Fall returns every year. Name an old favorite that you'd like to return to soon. Now, I have a couple of answers for this one. I love to reread books, but I never really take the time to do that, especially if it's a series, because I know that it'll take a lot of time and I could spend that time reading books that I haven't read yet. But there's one that I've been seeing pop up everywhere, not necessarily like all over the place, but like seeing it pop up every once in a while, and I'm like, oh, I should reread this. And I've been thinking more and more about this series, and it is the Vampire Academy and Bloodline series by Rachel Mead. So this is the 6th book, the final book in the whole series. And for some reason recently, I know like there's been a Vampire Academy show that's been announced, so that might be why I've been thinking about it more often, but I really want to read Bloodline specifically. I loved the series. It's about vampires. I also really enjoyed Vampire Academy, but if I had to pick, I think I would choose Bloodlines. I don't know why, I really am in the mood to reread this. So who knows, maybe I'll make that happen, maybe not, but I would love to reread Bloodlines at some point because I remember loving the series. So that was the very last question. There is a 10th one that is like sharing the love and tagging other people, but I don't want to put pressure on anyone to film this. And so if you guys want to film this tag and if you guys want to do it, you are tagged. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you to Mary for tagging me. I had such an amazing time sharing some of my favorite fall reads with you guys. And I guess that's it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!